I'm about to explain nearly every Atlanta suburb to you so that you can make the best possible choice when deciding where to live. And that's coming up right now. Hey everyone, welcome back to Living in Atlanta, the YouTube channel that helps you get to understand what it's like to live in the Atlanta area. My name is Mark Brenner, and today we're going to be talking about the suburbs of Atlanta. In my last video, I covered pretty much everywhere inside the perimeter to give you a great idea of what to expect in the different areas ITP. And so today's video is going to be covering outside the perimeter. Now, I mentioned suburbs, but we're going to be talking about exurbs and cities in their own right. We're going to cover pretty much the area outside the perimeter within 45 minutes to an hour roughly. I may talk about some areas further out, but the main point of this video is to give you a working beginner's knowledge of what to expect north, south, east, west, outside the perimeter of Atlanta so that you can increase your knowledge and help make a great decision for you and your family. So one of the biggest challenges we run into when we help new clients move here from out of state is that there are so many great options for where to live around Atlanta. There are multiple locations that will probably work great for whatever you and your family are looking for. So we've got to go through a process of elimination, whether it's from budget or whether it's from schools or the overall vibe that you're looking for. But if you're focused on too large of a search area, it's going to be overwhelming, it's going to be stressful, and it's not going to be effective. So when you're doing your home search, whether you're renting or buying, you really want to try to narrow it down to maybe 2 to 4 neighborhoods that you can focus on and get to know. And doing that will help you be less stressed and make a much better decision. Now, before I pull up the map, I do need to give you one caveat. I am going to be speaking in generalities, in broad strokes about the areas surrounding the city of Atlanta. I may refer to an area as technically higher crime or lower income or technically not having as good public schools. That does not mean it's not a great place to live, okay? It really comes down to the street, the little micro area, how the homes are maintained, what kind of neighbors you have, what kind of foot traffic there is, what kind of traffic patterns, amenities are there around. There are a lot of factors that go into making a decision on what neighborhood and exact area are going to work for you. So just keep that in mind if you've been looking at a certain area and I make a comment about it being maybe a mixed bag or lower income. That's okay. It could still be a fantastic place to live. It doesn't mean it's dangerous or unsafe. Everyone has a different tolerance for city living versus suburban living and just areas that they're comfortable living in general. So again, the point of this video is to give you a basic working knowledge of the surrounding areas, but just know that there are so many fantastic places to live in and around the Atlanta area. So let's pull up a map and get started. All right, so I have a map of Atlanta pulled up. You can see the perimeter here created by 285. In my last video, we went over all the neighborhoods inside the perimeter. So if you're looking to be in town, make sure you check out that video. Today, we're gonna be talking about OTP, outside the perimeter, all these areas, suburbs, exurbs, and cities in their own right. Now, broad strokes, generally speaking, for whatever reason, you've probably heard this before, the more desirable areas, some of the higher income areas, and some of the areas with better schools tend to be congregated north of the city, okay? So Marietta, Alpharetta, over to Lawrenceville, everywhere in between, and areas further out as well. Now, let's pull up the county map real quick. So you see we have the perimeter of 285 here. And so you see these are the relevant counties for you to be familiar with. And so on the north side of town, a lot of these counties, again, for whatever reason, have higher quality, higher graded public schools. So Cobb, Cherokee, Forsyth, and Gwinnett typically have good reputations when it comes to schools. North Fulton as well. Unfortunately, Douglas, Fulton, Clayton, DeKalb, it's more of a mixed bag. Does not mean there are not great high quality schools in those areas, just means you need to really do your research, look at the assigned schools if that's important to you. Now, one of the best resources for you to do this is the Governor's Office of Student Achievement. All you have to do is go to schoolgrades.georgia.gov. I share this resource all the time. This is from the state of Georgia. It is their own data. I like it better than the third-party aggregator websites because they rarely give you visibility into how they determine their grades, whereas this is information from the government. So you can see real quick, Fulton County overall gets a B. DeKalb gets a C, Gwinnett gets a B, Cobb gets a B, Clayton gets a D, Fayette gets a B, and Henry gets a C. So quality schools in all those areas, but typically a lot of the higher quality schools are found in the counties to the north of the perimeter. That doesn't mean there aren't good schools in other directions outside the perimeter. All right, let's go back to our map of Atlanta here and go clockwise around the city. So again, a lot of the desirable areas are going to be to the north. You've probably heard of Alpharetta, probably the single most desirable suburb around Atlanta, mainly because of the things to do. Avalon, downtown Alpharetta, a lot of incredible amenities, fun things to do for the whole family right in Alpharetta while having a reasonable commute into town if you are working there or just like to enjoy Atlanta. Another big benefit besides the schools of the areas north of the city are going to be the North Georgia mountains, all the nature and amenities that North Georgia has to offer. Okay, Blue Ridge Mountains, there's vineyards up here, there's some incredible trails, nature, hiking, there's Lake Lanier, there's Lake Allatoona. North Georgia is absolutely gorgeous in terms of nature and fun things to do. So that's another big benefit of being on the north side of town. There's great nature in all the other directions, but north probably is going to be the best. So let's just cover some of these neighborhoods. I'm going to try to keep this video shorter than the last one. They always end up way longer than I intend for them to. So Marietta and Lawrenceville are two areas that I help families purchase in probably more than any other area because there's still some good affordability here with some quality public schools and a reasonable commute into the city. So, Marietta to the northwest, Kennesaw is a great area. There's a college over this way, just a little bit further out, but very desirable, quickly growing area, as is Ackworth. And Woodstock has one of the best downtown areas of any Atlanta suburb. So Woodstock is amazing. People who love there absolutely love it. That's going to be a good bit further from Atlanta. So if you're doing a commute, probably not the best place to live. Roswell is a place I talk about all the time. The Chattahoochee River runs through there, and great area to live. If you do have a family and you love to do a lot of outdoor activities, I think Roswell should be high up on the list. I love downtown Roswell, really quaint and has some great restaurants. Sandy Springs is a fantastic area just outside the perimeter that is hugely convenient because it has MARTA rail connectivity, right? So although you do need to own a car if you're going to live in Atlanta, Sandy Springs is one of those areas where you could really cut down on car usage by taking advantage of MARTA. People love Sandy Springs, great public works, plenty to do in that area, and the proximity obviously to the city is incredibly close. This area is the belly of the beast in terms of traffic, okay? If there was a downside to the north side of town, just know when you hear about Atlanta traffic, other than the downtown connector, a lot of that mess is centered around just that northern corridor, 400 north, 75, 85 north. A lot of people making this commute, and a lot of construction in Sandy Springs, Dunwoody area right now. A lot of changes going on to the highways, and so this is a traffic nightmare, so just be aware of that. Johns Creek, kind of a sister city to Alpharetta, can be more expensive even in some cases, slightly more diverse, higher Asian population, pretty well-to-do area. Alpharetta and Johns Creek, I'm not going to get too much into prices because I'll be talking forever, but starter home is probably going to be in the mid fours. You're going to need more of a budget in the 600s to get something with modern finishes and a larger home. So these are expensive areas. As we continue to head east towards Duluth, I think has some of the best food anywhere outside the perimeter, large Asian population. So, between Duluth and Doraville, I think these are two of the best places for food anywhere around Atlanta. Sewanee is a very family-oriented area, big green space, amphitheater, place to play near downtown Sewanee. So consistently named one of the best suburbs for families, probably a 50-minute drive to Atlanta, so a little further out. But beautiful green atmosphere over in Sewanee. Just touching on Buford, City of Buford has some of the highest rated public schools in the state of Georgia. It can be a mixed bag in terms of crime, but that's a very popular spot because of their public schools as well. As we go south, so you've got a bunch of really nice suburbs at different ranges of affordability that could work for a lot of different people. Lawrenceville, I already mentioned. Snellville, Loganville, Grayson, kind of similar areas. They're not going to have amazing downtown areas or incredible amenities, but they're going to have pretty decent affordability. You can still start there probably in the high threes and do very well with a budget in the 400s, reasonable commute into the city. So those are all areas areas to look at if you're looking for a suburb close by. Tucker is an area that's absolutely exploding. I'm helping a lot of people buy and sell in Tucker right now. Really great proximity to the city. This is unincorporated DeKalb, so the public works and schools aren't as great, but some good affordability there and a lot of convenience. As we go south, there's actually Stone Mountain there, which is obviously an incredible amenity for a lot of Atlantans. Bit of a mixed bag. There's some lower income areas in Stone Mountain, so you definitely want to be familiar with the street that you're looking on and make sure the homes are maintained. You definitely can get some good value there. You can still purchase there in the low threes even in many instances. So some good value, but very much a mixed bag in Stone Mountain. So that's Stone Mountain. So again, we talked about north. So like kind of the more desirable, higher income, typically better school areas are going to be like from Marietta wrapping around to Lawrenceville, maybe going down through Loganville and Snellville. As you head south from that, you get into Stone Mountain, Lithonia, Conyers. Still perfectly great areas to live. A little bit lower income becomes, these are working class communities. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them. Conyers is growing like crazy. There's a lot of multifamily properties in Conyers if you're an investor looking for multifamily deals, but just working class areas. Usually you're going to hop on 20 West to head into town there, so decent convenience into the city. As we go further out east, Oxford and Covington are growing like crazy. There's an Emory campus out here. There's a lot of businesses actually setting up shop out here too, so particularly Covington you're seeing grow like wild. As you get south, it gets sprawling, less dense, wide open kind of areas all in between here, heading down around the Stockbridge. McDonough is an area as we head south that is growing quite a bit. A lot of development there. Another popular area for families. The areas directly outside the perimeter, other than the north, in a lot of instances are going to be some higher crime areas, lower quality public schools, just more of a mixed bag. Prices will be a little bit lower there often, but you just got to be really careful about where exactly that you're looking. As you go further out from the city, things tend to get better in many instances. So like, for instance, Stone Mountain, a little bit of a mixed bag. As you go further out east, it's going to be typically a bit lower crime out that way. And same thing for South Atlanta. So Union City, Forest Park, Riverdale, Morrow, a little bit more dense than some of these areas we were talking about to the east and the west. Great convenience, obviously, to the city, and especially on the south side of town, if you live in these areas, easy access to the airport. So if you work at Hartsfield-Jackson, or if you work for Delta, or you just travel consistently, that could be a great place for you to look. Union City is kind of a little bit more industrialized. There's a lot of car dealerships over here, a lot of businesses over here. Fairburn is an area where you can actually get in new construction here for very affordable prices, like in the 300s very often. As you go further south, you get into areas where the schools, we're going into Fayette County, so the schools are going to get a little bit better. Fayetteville, Peachtree City, these are areas that do typically have good quality public schools. It does get more expensive when you go a little further south down this area, but Tyrone, Fayetteville, Peachtree City is a golf cart community, pretty famous for that. These are nicer, but these are a little bit more expensive, higher quality public schools. There's a decent amount of things to do in all these areas. Definitely not the level of amenity that you'll see to the north or in the city. Palmetto is an area that is growing quite a bit with a lot of new construction communities. So if you're looking for new construction on a budget that's not going to break the bank, you probably want to look south. And the other area that I would say is west, which we'll talk about here in a minute. So Powder Springs, Austell, Dallas, a lot of new construction communities going out in these areas, and they often won't break the bank. So if you're set on new construction, you may want to take a look at these areas. So I would say south of Atlanta is an area where if you're on a little bit lower of a budget, or you want a little bit more land, if you want some acreage, if you want to have a little bit more isolation, this could be a great place to look. Or if you want to be real close to the city on a little bit lower of a budget, you might want to look closer in these neighborhoods like Union City or Riverdale. But if you want more of the typical suburban/rural feel, you're going to want to go probably further out towards Fayetteville, Hampton, Peachtree City, Tyrone, Palmetto, so on and so forth. Now, as we swing around To the west side of town, again, some of the areas just west of the perimeter can be some high crime areas. There's no other way to say it, so you do have to be careful there. As you go further out west, it gets less dense, more spread out. Again, I said more new construction communities. I have some friends that live in Douglasville. It's quiet over there. They have their own little lake area, and they have like over an acre of land. They love it. It's not a killer drive into the city, so actually pretty big fan of Douglasville. I think there's really good value there. Again, we kind of touched on Austell, Powder Springs, Lithia Springs, Dallas. Not a ton going on out here, okay? You do have Six Flags over Georgia in this area, so that's a nice amenity. You do have Truist Park in the Smyrna area, so easy to catch a Braves game on the west side of town. So those are some nice amenities that are close by, but a little bit more rural, especially as you move further out west. Great opportunity for new construction. And then we swing back around to the northwest, which again, kind of touched on Marietta, very popular area for families. Smyrna is where the Braves play. A lot of businesses headquartered out here. Nice combination of attached and detached lifestyles. Mableton is in this area, which I'm a big fan of. Some really good value there. So again, your experience is going to change quite a bit. If schools are not that important to you, obviously you have way more options available to you. The things that are going to help you make this decision are obviously, are schools really important, because that's going to cross a bunch of places off the list. Then it's your budget. What kind of budget are you working with? If you need a $350,000 home, we could probably cross Alpharetta off the list. We could probably look at some areas east, west, or south. But then you have to consider the vibe that you're looking for, okay? Again, if you want more of the rural kind of country vibe, you're going to go further out to the west. You're going to go further out to the south. If you want more of that typical suburban / megalopolis feel, you're probably going to go out further to the east and northeast. And then if you want kind of that sweet spot, the best of both worlds, with just suburbs that have a lot to do in them in addition to being close to the city, you're probably going to want to look at some of these areas just to the north of the perimeter. Although there are great neighborhoods, towns, exurbs, and cities in every direction around Atlanta. So it really comes down to what are the most important things for you? What are your priorities? All right, so there you have it, the Atlanta suburbs explained. I know I didn't explain every single suburb around Atlanta, but these videos are already usually too long. So I hope that just gave you some general knowledge to help you make the best decision for you and your family. If I didn't cover something that you really want to hear me talk about, please comment below. I love getting video ideas and understanding what kind of content y'all are looking for. And as always, if you are looking to buy or sell a home anywhere in the Atlanta area, I would love to hear from you. You can book a Zoom call with me using the link in the description below. Email me, text me, whatever you want to do, but I absolutely love when my viewers become clients. So let me know what other topics you want me to cover in the future. Thank you so much for watching. Give me a call if you want to work together, and I'll see you next time.